So speaking of which, we should. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna just go with it. I'm gonna say we should dive right into this. The sex scandals continue. See, I saw you wince just now, and you know what? I was gonna
There's
censor
way
myself.
too many ways for. All right,
Really, there is.
Okay.
I know. So now it is politicians that are getting sucked into this never-ending death spiral, and Senator Al Franken has been dragged into this now.
Wow.
With really what amounts to some pretty provocative photographs. And, you know, some other complaints. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look that up on the internet prior to
I haven't
doing
looked
the
them
show?
up, but I have heard an earful of it. It's interesting because last week, was it last week or the week before we talked about this, and I mentioned City Beat, the show that I was working on, and they talked about the actors and how this thing was in Hollywood. One of the things they said in that same segment that they did was how long before it hits Washington? The next week.
Yeah.
The very next week.
Hey, I got to take a step back for just a second because I want to say to Kevin, we are thrilled that you are joining us this evening. We see you here, you know, and I know you're. I hope I haven't offended you by saying I wasn't impressed with the Mac update. But call in, Kevin. We'd love to talk to you. It's not. It's 951-356-6882. Sorry, sometimes I go into the old phone number.
You were about to go super old
I really
school.
was. I was about to take it back, like, you know,
20
probably
years.
20 years. Yeah. So 951-356-6882. Why don't you give us a call, Kev? We haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. It'd be great to have your 2 cents on this. Okay.
And
Jumping.
if you want to learn how, well,
It's
come
free.
on down.
Free. There you go. Jumping back into the
See,
sex
now you
scandal
gotta pull
thing.
up the archive so people know what we're talking
So
about.
the photograph shows Al Franken attempting, or apparently, and it's hard to say whether he
attempting.
actually did it or not, but he's got his hands as if he's grabbing the breasts of a sleeping woman.
Yeah.
And do you like the
Yeah,
way I was doing
yeah.
the visual representation here?
Yeah, we get you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, here's the thing that gets me. You know, he's issued an apology. He admits that it happened. He issues an apology in which he said it sickens him now what he did. He's ashamed that he actually did that. He doesn't know what he was thinking. Blah blah blah, on and on. And in the grand scheme of things, and I hate to say this, but if we're going to put this into perspective, in the grand scheme of things, what he did is not nearly as heinous as the whole Weinstein issue
yeah.
and several of the other people that are being dragged down in this.
But
Oh yeah, not nearly.
the accusations against him, who knows how much further they're going to go. Hopefully not that much. But here's another interesting thing, because my wife, who is an avid reader of this Reddit thread, The Donald, they're just like going at this guy like nobody's business. The memes are flying like crazy because of how hard he was going after Donald Trump about respecting women and all this other stuff. And then the ladies basically got fed up with him and all this BS. Like, look, you can't run this because this is what you did.
Well, see, here's the funny. This is what makes that funny is that. So he's going after Donald Trump on his high horse. Now he's dragged down into the whole spiral of the abyss, and immediately Trump jumps on Twitter and starts saying, he calls him Frankenstein, which
Right.
was really hilarious, and says, gee, what happens in the other pictures? Where are his hands going there? And I'm thinking to myself, people who live in glass houses shouldn't
Yeah,
throw stones.
that was my first
Did you forget what, the controversy that came up during the campaign about a certain phrase that you uttered that
But
nobody
I mean, that's the
disputes you
example of
said?
what I'm saying is like the glass house. Franken basically started throwing the stones.
Right.
So
right. But
he busted his own house.
Yeah, but Trump really should not.
But the thing about
he's not
Trump
in a
is
position to
he
be
never
jumping on
cared
this.
about his glass house. He treats it like I'll just buy a new one.
Oh, okay.
He's got a plexiglass house. He can throw stones at it all day long.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm beginning to wonder, where does it end? Because, again, trying to put this into perspective, and I'm not meaning to make light of what's happened or belittle anybody that has felt as though they have been the victim of any kind of harassment. But where does it end? As a guy, I'm starting to think, how long before they're claiming sexual harassment because you looked at somebody the wrong way?
They do that now.
I mean,
They
how
do
long
that
is
now.
it before everyone at this table suddenly has a sexual harassment charge leveled against
It's
them for something
Only
that they
a matter.
did?
Well, one of us has.
Yeah, okay.
Not going to mention any names.
If only we had the breaking news sting.
If only we did, but we
Could've
don't.
Put that on.
But that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm saying is,
Hold on, Kelly's jumping in on the Facebook chat.
Okay.
She says she posted on the Mixified Facebook page about the newest sex scandal that we all have to learn about. Boom. Yet another celebrity accused of sexual assault.
And this one is,
I can't see it.
what is that?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
seriously.
Ooh.
Oh man. Oh, that's unfortunate.
You know, if the irony
well, you know
of
that they always did go after cartoons for being misogynistic.
if yeah, but Bugs Bunny's got a lot bigger concerns than any kind of sexual harassment thing because the racism and you know that goes into those old cartoons.
But then also, like, you could really easily go into whether there's a whole transgender thing going on in the whole Warner Brothers scene there, because Bugs is always up in drag, Fud's in drag, Porky's in drag. So I mean, who knows what's going on when the cameras stop rolling?
Well, in that case, you could consider them very, very forward in their, you know.
Oh yeah, that's
thinking.
Yeah, it depends on how you spin that, right?
But about the Franken thing, I have not done nearly enough research to speak with any authority on it. But what I keep hearing is that this woman, she is a personality who
she's
was
a radio personality
on this USO tour with Franken, and that they were working on some skit where there was a kissing and groping scene where this was all part of this skit.
Well, he wrote the skit.
Well, good on him.
Okay,
For working that in.
That's a harassment suit, Todd, right there. You can, by the way, if you want to file the suit or a complaint against Todd, you can do that at Todd Fluker on Twitter.
Okay, well, one other thing. I don't know how much longer we're going to ride this pony. Ooh, that might not be the best choice.
God,
Dang.
really? On a night when I could really be using the sound effects, this machine is... It's just... I've got the black screen of death over here on this thing.
Give it a
Why
hard
it's got to be
boot.
black?
You
man?
got to give it a hard boot.
Okay, anyway, one of the things, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Franken has been, he's one of the sponsors for this rape legislation bill in Minnesota for rape survivors.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
and
this
the
program.
lady,
Oh, my
the
God,
lady,
we're screwed.
who basically is pushing the bill is asking him to remove himself as sponsor for the bill because of these allegations.
Well, that's not an unreasonable request at this point.
Well, just to even further mess with this, because one of the things that people were always wondering is why Hillary didn't push for like a recount and all that other stuff at the end of the election. There were a couple of things that were floating around. One was that if they actually went and looked into the votes, they might find that some of hers weren't on the level. But the other thing is they didn't want to push that sex scandal thing too hard, because if people look too deep into her background, it gets really murky really quick.
Okay, that's an interesting accusation. What have you got to back that up?
I mean, you could always just go with Bill.
Yeah, there's Bill. There's
well,
always Bill.
certainly there's Bill. However, and again, I'm not
And
really.
that she
I'm just playing devil's
is-
advocate. I'm not going to defend anybody's behavior. But in his instance, there was nobody that was underage, and there was never any accusation that anything he did wasn't consensual.
But there's always the problem of abuse of authority.
Okay.
There's always that problem, because sometimes you can have coerced consent. It's like police confessions. They lock you in a room for 15 hours and keep badgering you. Eventually, you're going to relent just to get out of the room and to get over that.
Yeah,
Well,
nobody
if that's
wants
the
to
case,
be in a room with a badger.
If that's the case, Monica relented a whole bunch of times.
Ooh.
All right. Let's talk about Bugs Bunny some more.
Yeah.
What's up,
There's some
Doc?
breakfast.
Yes. Good one, Todd. That's a good one. I like.
What did he say?
There you go. We gotta make up. This is sad. We have to make up our own sound effects
Start
tonight.
freestyling this baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a messed up situation all around. It's upsetting that this is happening and that we have to hear all of this, but it's also good that we're hearing all of this, because this is something that has been happening for a long time, and it's about time people started taking it seriously. I'm hoping that this actually means there's going to be a turn, and that it's not just people trying to push their own agendas by pushing somebody else
Well,
out
of course,
into the fire.
that's what this is going to be about, and especially when it gets to the political level, this is going to be about people pushing their agendas.
Well, I mean, and this gets down to like my whole position with not liking national politics in general and not having them want to pass a whole lot of legislation, because they usually do it as some reactionary situation. And I think that it's very important that people who are serious about this issue take hold of this issue, because if they don't, it's either going to get swept back under the rug or get pushed off into some weird marginal
You would
direction.
think
that
they'd
it
be
doesn't
running
need to be.
out of rug space by now.
No, they keep raising taxes
There's
to buy more
always
rugs.
rug, yeah.
All right.